आज की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we like to seek the blessings of Radha Madhava, Radha Shyamsundar, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Gonitai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees, so that we can complete the summary of chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita. This is the final chapter, and it's the conclusion. The perfection of renunciation is the title of the chapter, and summarizing first 18 verses. If working in this world seems to attract karmic reaction and implicates us in a web of worldly complexity, is it not safer that we give up work? Actually, Krishna doesn't agree with that idea. And he reiterates that activity itself is not bad per se. Because activities can be in three modes, right? Goodness, passion, ignorance. But also it can be in transcendental activity. It can be a transcendental activity as well, spiritual activity. The root of entanglement is the false ego with which we perform the activity, thinking ourselves the controller and enjoyer. And Krishna in these 18 verses, or some of these verses, he explains that there are actually 5 causes which bring success to any activity. And what are these 5 causes? We are there, as having the desire. The body is there, the senses, the endeavor, the effort, and the super soul. So these 5 are required. And elsewhere, he also discusses how there are the Atma is one of the causes, as well as the super soul, as well as Prakriti. So this is on similar lines. We're just giving a few more causes here. Since we are only one of the 5, we should never have an overvalued estimation of ourselves. We shouldn't think that we are the doers, basically. Thus, by working in the spirit of detachment, offering the fruits of labor towards a transcendental goal, one can function in this world and simultaneously remain completely aloof. So this is a very interesting point, that by working in the mood that, look, we are not really the doers. The doer is Krishna anyway. We are simply acting as his instrument. That brings about a great deal of peace within us, because we realize our actual position. And we can work, we can do loads of things in that mood if we want to. Of course, we're not the doers anyway, but we could have the desire to do lots of different activities, as long as it's in the spirit of devotion. Because the soul's nature is to act, is to desire. It wants to do lots of things. It's active. So being inactive doesn't suit the soul anyway. At some point, even if one is inactive, at some point one will have to take up some activity. So, because the soul is by nature active. So the lesson to learn from this, which is lesson 72, is to understand the 5 factors of action: the individual soul, the body, the senses, endeavor, and the super soul. So here Krishna explains it in text 13 and 14. Devam is the super soul. Adhisthanam is the place of action, i.e. the body. Karta, the soul, the doer. Karanam, senses, instruments of action. Chesta is the effort or the endeavor. So the doer or the soul is its consciousness is in false ego, reflected in false ego, if it's thinking it's the only doer. The soul only desires. That's the only thing it can do. So Summary of 19 to 40s, verses 19 to 40 of the 18th chapter. Looking around us, the reality is that most people are deeply engrossed within this material world. Krishna pins this down to modes of material nature and that entangle each person according to their individual mentality. So depending on where we are, we may be in a situation where we are entangled, very deeply entangled, depending on our mentality. So, and the entanglement is basically within the three modes of material nature. So Krishna explains how the modes influence our knowledge, our actions, our understanding, our determination, and ultimately our sense of happiness. So, especially this point about happiness is the one who is in the mode of goodness. For him, his actions in the beginning may be seem like poison. It's very hard because he's doing austerity, but it ends in nectar. And the example we always use is the chanting of the Maha Mantra. It's very difficult, especially in the early stages when you're trying to focus on the chanting of the holy names. You're trying to do the Maha Mantra, in a nice way. And it's very hard. It almost feels like, wow, this is so difficult. Why do I have to do this? But if we keep on persisting, in the end, it turns into nectar because we realize we are associating with the Supreme Lord one-to-one. We're in a conversation with the Lord on a one-to-one basis. So the poison turns into nectar. Whereas in the mode of passion, it may seem like nectar in the beginning, but then it turns into poison at the end. So for example, if we like to eat gulab jamuns, if we eat too many of them, we'll feel sick. So it's nice in the beginning, but keep on persisting eating gulab jamuns one after the other, it turns into poison. You don't want any more. You never want to see a gulab jamun again. And in the mode of ignorance, what is their activity are poison in the beginning and the poison at the end. There's no nectar because it's just destructive. Whatever they do is destructive, self-harming, harming others. So the lesson is what seems to be poison in the beginning will become nectar in the end. And what is nectar in the beginning, sense enjoyment, will be poison in the end. So that's a very powerful lesson. So it gives us that inspiration to continue in our process of spiritual endeavor, because we know it's hard, especially in this material world where there's so many temptations around us. But we have to continue to persevere. Through perseverance, we will be successful in our goal of self-realization. Summary of verses 41 to 55. We expected to be aloof. We are expected to be aloof, i.e. detached and unattached workers. But in reality, we have a conditioned nature influenced by the three modes, which implicate us in worldly life. Krishna thus explains the system of varnashram, where one can engage in one's inherent nature in different types of work. For example, there are people in this world who are by nature intelligent, intellectual. They like to study, they like to impart knowledge. These are Brahminical qualities. There are people in this world who like to organize, who like to fight, who like to protect. And their nature is that of a Kshatriya, the martial class. And then there are the businessmen who like to make money. They belong to the mercantile, the Vaishya community. And finally, then there's the fourth type, who are the workers who like to, they don't like to be boss. They like to just simply do what they're told, and they enjoy that mood. They are considered to be Shudra or laborer class. So Krishna advises that one should act according to one's nature. One should not artificially imitate another man's duty, but rather embrace what is natural and inborn. We'll be happy that way, because we will not be doing something which is against our nature. An example is, if you ask a Brahmin to go and collect money for the temple, he will struggle. Right? He will struggle, because the Brahmin's quality is study and give knowledge. But if you ask a Vaish, a businessman, come and help us collect for the temple, that'll be his second nature. He'll be happy to help us. He'll be happy to do that, because that's his nature. But if you ask him to study the scriptures, the Vaish will say, oh no, that's a little hard. Whereas a Brahmin will say, yes, I can study the scriptures. So we can use our inherent nature to serve the Lord, whatever it is, in this Varnashram system, according to our ability. And we're not restricted by birth either. Our only restriction is our nature and our consciousness. By engaging in our nature and discharging work in a spirit of God consciousness, we purify ourselves of these material propensities and live a happy and peaceful life. So this is why Varnashram is so important. Of course, in Kali Yuga, everybody is regarded to be a Shudra, actually, because this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has indicated to us, that there are no really qualified Brahmins, Kshatriyas, or Vaishya. Everybody's a Shudra. Everybody's just a servant, which is fine. To be in a servant position is not a bad thing. Actually, it's an advantage to be a servant, because that's our natural position, to serve. So if we can understand that we are servants, especially of the Supreme Lord, then the transition towards spiritual life is very easy. So lesson 74 is understand the Varnashram system, how it applies to us individually and collectively. So we can follow our nature. That's what basically Krishna is indicating. Follow our nature. Don't be shy of doing that. And then the conclusion, the final verses to the end of the Gita. All activities, practices, and elements of spirituality are ultimately aimed at achieving pure love of God. The highest realization in transcendental knowledge is to re-establish one's eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of God.
I have to cancel it.
Can I just tap in, tap out?
No, because you've already tapped.
So the most confidential, Prabhupada explains this, most confidential part of knowledge is that we should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. So all of our activities, if they are linked to God, then we will always remember God, remember Krishna. From the time we wake up till the time we go to sleep. And even when we are asleep, if we go to sleep chanting the holy names, then it is considered that actually we are chanting throughout the night. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours, he can't help but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such Krishna, pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. So the final sort of message, lesson is understand the philosophy. Krishna says to Arjuna, have you understood what I have said to you? Were you paying attention? So, and Arjuna said, yes, I have understood. So then Krishna says to him, you can now do what you like. You can follow my guideline, my guidance, or you don't have to. It is your choice. And Arjun says, yes, no, I will follow. I will follow your guidance. I will live the philosophy that you have explained to me. So we can understand the philosophy, we can live the philosophy. And then Krishna says such beautiful verses. Yaidim paramam guya, one who shares this supreme secret with the devotees is very dear to Krishna. And one who spreads this message of Krishna to others, there is no dear devotee to Krishna in that person. So we're very lucky we have access to the Bhagavad Gita. We can give the Bhagavad Gita to others. We can gift it. We can spread the knowledge, spread the philosophy, spread the teachings of Krishna. And this is really the blessings of Srila Prabhupada that we can do that. And our Guru Maharaj was very keen that we should take Krishna and give Krishna. Take him into our lives, bring him into our lives, and then give to others. Very, very sweet to do that. And Krishna becomes very pleased when the lost soul is brought back to him. We, of course, are all lost ourselves. But we got some idea of where we're going, why we're going there. And if we can spread that around and share to others our great, great, amazing fortune, then the Lord's blessings and mercy will be upon us. So this is the final part of the Bhagavad Gita. 4 points from the 18th chapter. Try to understand the factors of action and our role. We simply are desiring what to do and everything takes place. The Lord fulfills our desire. 73 is to learn, is to understand that what is poison in the beginning will become nectar in the end. So we persevere with our Krishna consciousness, best of our ability. It's good also to understand the Varnashram system and how it applies to us. And we should understand the philosophy, live the philosophy, and spread the philosophy. Very important. That way we will make our lives very successful. So I wanted to stop there and ask if there's any questions or any comments. If anybody has anything like to share. Okay, thank you so much. Enjoyed sharing the Bhagavad Gita with all the devotees. And I hope we all benefit from the glorious instructions of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Sitaram Prabhu.
Yeah, you know, while you were saying that you should distribute the knowledge, you know, you will be very. It is very strange to tell this to you and the staff who are hearing. You know, I had a family. I was living in the south of Mauritius, and my neighbors were very dangerous. They consisted even 5 sons or whatever it were. So they came and one day to hurt my mother and my family itself.
Really?
And this, yes, they were grown up, and we were some 50 years back, more than 50 years back. I was young, some 12 or whatever it was. So those people very recently, when I became devotee, some 1 year back, I just took one Bhagavad Gita and offered it to one a teacher enemy for me, and I gave him. And I quote on the first page that, you know, I'm giving it to you because we are studying our our books, and he says it is we have no enemies. So you better take it. It is quite free. I'm giving you, and I wrote some very good lines referring the Bhagavad Gita, and I gave another one to his younger brother. You know what happened last week? I went to visit, and you know that man came to me and just hugged me and said me, you know, you had what you have done. It is inimaginable. Cannot. What have you have? You are so. I am very horrified to say. He said, "Oh, but my name was Satish. Now I am Sitaram." And he said, "You are so advanced. You know, no, my friend. I'm just serving the people. I distributed some Bhagavad Gita freely. I have not even taken one cent from them." So, and I was so. I was feeling very, very bad. So what? And he was just giving me obeisances. I don't know. And you know what happened? They were so bad family. And they had one son and one daughter. They just passed away on those incidents which happened. You know, and they are now old. This I was very much stricken, you know. So okay, Prabhu, Haribol.
Very good.
I
Thank you for
chose to
sharing that.
I
Wonderful.
chose
Wonderful.
to say it now. Hari Bol.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, well done. Even just distributing one book to one sincere soul, and your spiritual life is guaranteed. So well done.
Right.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.